After 7 long months, the South Dakota Supreme Court has ruled that recreational marijuana is illegal in the state of South Dakota. Good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron Dickens.
And I'm Lindsay Burrell. The court issuing its decision today that Amendment A was in fact unconstitutional, violating a previous amendment passed by South Dakota voters back in 2018 that required all new voter initiatives on constitutional amendments to encompass only one subject.
And it was a 4-to-1 vote, the High Court determining that the constitutional amendment dealt with 3 separate subjects, those being recreational marijuana, hemp, and medical marijuana. Chief Justice Stephen Jensen wrote, "We concluded that the submission of Amendment A to the voters plainly and palpably violated Article 23, Section 1. That law includes the state's one subject rule." Justice Scott Myron, however, dissented with the majority ruling. He wrote that the propositions in Amendment A are all, quote, incidental to and necessarily connected. He added that those propositions provided a comprehensive plans for all phases of legalization, regulation, use, production, and sale of marijuana and its related products.
That decision drawing a lot of reaction from both sides. State House reporter Austin Goss is in Pierre to help us break all this down.
There was a lot of frustration expressed by activists and supporters Wednesday, who felt like their vote had been overturned by the state government. But for proponents, a sigh of relief that Amendment Z had been upheld.
I've been criticized for trying to override the will of the voters, but the opposite is true in that I'm upholding the will of the voters. In 2018, the voters passed Amendment Z that said we want a single topic per amendment, and the lower court and the Supreme Court affirmed that.
It's been over a year since Sheriff Kevin Tome, Highway Patrol Superintendent Rick Miller, and Governor Kristi Noem filed a lawsuit against Amendment A, alleging it violated the single subject rule. Wednesday, the state Supreme Court overwhelmingly ruled in their favor.
We think that this ruling is extremely flawed. It's based on the idea that Amendment A was 3 subjects. We all know that Amendment A was a recreational cannabis legalization initiative. To say that voters weren't able to understand Amendment A, we think is disrespectful.
But pro-marijuana groups have been anticipating this day and this decision for a long time, already circulating a number of petitions with causes that include putting recreational marijuana back on the ballot and a repeal of the single subject rule.
But we have a clear plan. We're going to do 2 things. Continue our signature drive for our 2022 cannabis legalization initiative. And I'm very confident that we can collect the signatures we need based on the extended deadline of May 3rd. And our second task is to get our grassroots supporters fired up again for the upcoming legislative session.
I'm personally opposed to recreational or legalization of marijuana. I don't think South Dakota wants to go the way of the failed drug policies of states like California, Oregon, and Washington, but ultimately that might be up to the voters if it's put on the ballot again at a future date.
Since that decision came down, a number of South Dakota state lawmakers have already come out and said that there needs to at least be a discussion next legislative session around the idea of recreational marijuana legalization. As for the activists, they say that they already plan to have recreational marijuana on the ballot again in 2022. In Pierre, I'm Austin Goss.
Shortly after the ruling, Governor Kristi Noem released a statement saying, quote, "South Dakota is a place where the rule of law and our Constitution matter. And that's what today's decision is about. We do things right, and how we do things matters just as much as what we're doing. And we are still governed by the rule of law."